round quarterfinal, semifinal, final that we traditionally see, like you said, in either maybe a sprint course variation on the field or with a barbell here in the competition floor. But this year, the twist is we can also increase the difficulty of skills with gymnastics.
Recipe for success is presented by Trifecta. Got to adapt or die here, Chase.
I would say the 11th general physical skill outside of the regular 10 is something like adaptation. These are things athletes may have practiced, should have practiced, and possibly not. And when it comes unbroken, the execution factor here is huge when you talk about the double unders and the pistols.
Let's send it down to Nikki Brazier, who's on the competition floor.
Hey guys, now we are consistently elevating the level of programming for our elite athletes out here on the competition floor, but all these movements are actually variations of the basics that we perform in our CrossFit gyms every single day. Now the CrossFit Journal says we fail at the margins of our experience, but by intentionally pushing those margins, we can find the fittest on earth.
Thank you, Nikki. We have 4 heats of 10 women. The top 20 times will move on to round number 2. In lane number 6, rookie Rebecca Fuselier, who was a level 10 gymnast, started CrossFit when she was 13 and has competed as a teenager here at the games.
And a huge advantage in an event like this that may be a big stressor for a lot of athletes, but the question may be, why are we going this route? Because it's always been in our DNA as CrossFitters that being proficient in gymnastics is essential to our development as athletes and what makes us CrossFitters to begin with. Over the years, we get so fascinated with speed on a track, weight on a barbell, but skills on the gymnastics floor is one thing we're exploring this year.
So look at Paige Powers, another one of the individual rookies here in the women's field. And we start on the pegboard, an implement that first showed up at the games in 2015. And a large number of people, both men and women, were unable to complete a single ascent on this.
What you got to understand is that, exactly to your point, is in 2015, this was the event where it was basically stand and wait for time for a lot of athletes that couldn't climb it. Now, 2022, this is the buy-in round to cut people to the top 20.
And what you're going to do when one of these athletes gets over their jump rope first, and it looks like it's right.
Victoria Campos is on to the jump rope. Now they have to do 75 single unders unbroken. They can speed skip. That is allowed. But if you miss, you go back to 0.
And this is where the execution error comes into play, because there's something to be said of having the basic skills of doing the basic movements. Do you want to get better at snatching a barbell? Then get the PVC pipe back in your hand. Do you want to get better at double unders? Then let's go back to single unders. Work on your foot position, your hand position.
Elisa Fuliano is the first woman done with her single unders. Now they have to do 10 single leg squats on the left leg. If they move out of that box, that blue box, if that other foot comes down at any time, they start back at 0. Talked to Adrian Bosman earlier today. He said this event is a controlled freak out.
Yeah, and it's exactly what it is, because there's the error of execution here. Should you go a little too fast than you're supposed to and you bounce outside of the box, start over. That heel touches the ground, start over.
Elisa Fuliano is on to
oh, that she didn't even have to do it.
Well, she did not have to do the pirouette, but she still did. Now here comes Rebecca Fuselier next to her. So Fuliano did not need to do the pirouette, still executed it, and now she's neck and neck with Fuselier. And now it's going to be a foot race to the finish, and Fuliano's going to get the best of Fuselier on that by half a second. Christine Kohlenbrander is going to be the next woman down. Now Paige Powers is back on her feet along with Victoria Campos as they both come across the finish line.
Campos is one of the athletes that had to start her single unders over about 2 or 3 times.
Sung Young Choi is across the finish line. Top 20 times from this first round will move on.
Here we go.
Well, Fuliano just showed us that she's pretty good at the pirouette, that hopefully when she advances, she'll be okay.
And we will have another finisher with 10
Michelle Marin is in. Elena Carnatala Sanahuya is still working on her single leg squats. And Sola Sugadottir does not get in inside the 3-minute time cap.
1 minute.
Next heat coming out on the floor, as there is Elisa Fuliano, who will have the top time with now 3 heats remaining.
I don't think I took a breath that entire time watching it happen.
Here are the women who are in heat number 2, and anytime we're doing a handstand walk, Danielle Brandon is going to be a factor. She's in lane 8.
Danielle Brandon made a name for herself and a statement last year during the handstand walk event with the speed and ferocity that she attacked with. A lot of times you'll see athletes take break in between implements to pause. She didn't do that at all. If anyone's suited to have success here, it's the handstand walk, but you got to get through the pegboard first.
And it is just that quick, ladies and gentlemen. This event, no joke.
Second heat is underway, and Elisa Fuliano has your top time, 2:06.19 seconds.
Danielle Brandon, center of your screen, unbroken. Both pegs needs to be secured at the top. Both pegs needs to be secured below the red line before athletes can come down. So an element of control needs to be shown before they hop off.
Brandon is done first out of the jump rope. Here comes Turi Helgadottir and Danny Spiegel. 75 unbroken single unders here.
The thing you got to be careful of is that you want to race, as you said before, a controlled freakout. Athletes want to race here. They're so used to going fast on double unders, but with the unbroken looming, a single under just needs to be unbroken. That's going to be the fastest route. You don't want to miss it at 10 or a 15, but just staying relaxed here. The pistols are coming. You still have a handstand walk. You can only lose the event here on the jump rope portion of these tests.
Turi Helgadottir and Danielle Brandon onto the single-legged squats first. Helgadottir's in the middle of your screen.
Again, the time to beat in our last heat. Elisa with the
I
time.
love that they're keeping them on one leg this year. It's just so great. You can easily establish a full range of motion. It's easy for the judges, but this unbroken element where you bring in balance and coordination to what is typically a testament of speed and stamina.
Helgadottir is your leader. Brandon right behind her. Ellie Turner and Paige Semenza in the top 4. And now Brandon right behind Helgadottir onto her hands. And Brandon, like she shot out of a cannon, up and over onto her feet. Danielle Brandon is across. 1:53.39 seconds. Helgadottir is in. 1:57.95 for her. Ellie Turner looking to be the next woman to finish up. She has a stumble, but she will get across, and here comes Danny Spiegel. Amanda Barnhart is in. Paige Semenza stumbled in lane number 1, and she comes across at the top of your screen. 3 women still on the floor. Alice Gazan is one of them. Julia Cato.
As we approach the 30-second marker.
Caroline Spencer and also Sydney Mikulishin still on the floor. Less than 30 to go here before we hit that 3-minute time cap.
Yeah, but Sean, Sydney hasn't even got through the single unders yet.
20 seconds to go. Kato able to bring it home. 15 seconds.
Cato, Spencer, and Gazan get across with about 10 seconds to spare. And Sydney Mikulishin is not going to get through the single unders as we are through now 2 of the initial 4 heats. Top 20 times move from this round to the semifinal round.
And I said before, if Danielle Brandon can get to the handstand walk portion, there's no one out here that can beat her. The test will be that as the skills increase on the pegboard and the pistols.
Heat number 3 of 4. In lane at number 5, Brooke Wells, another athlete. Very good on her hands.
It's just great to see her back out here in contention once again after what she went through. Basically, the last time she stepped out here on the Coliseum floor was when she had that elbow injury during the snatch event. So this is not just her first time to the games, but her first time back in the Coliseum in front of all these people. Got 3rd last year in the handstand walk and is one of the best in the game when it comes to handstand walking. The question is, how's the elbow holding up on the pegboards? How's it going to hold up on these implements after that surgery?
Third heat underway, starting with the pegboard once again.
Doesn't mean that they can't be passed, as we saw with Danielle Brandon setting that time to beat. 153 is the time.
There goes Brooke Wells on her initial ascent
Number 3
up that pegboard.
of the event. Skill, speed,
Brooke got a little stuck
athletes make their way down
at the top, and she'll take a break in the middle of the floor. We see a lot of athletes going unbroken so far.
Ariel Lowen, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, and Bailey Rail onto the single unders. Carolyn Prevost, who is next to Dahlstrom, just tripped. She'll start back at 0.
The question might be, why do this alternating foot cadence? Because this is a warm-up movement. This is what a lot of athletes will do, either warming up for double unders or actually warming up for track events. This is a skill that some athletes will use to practice staying on the balls of your feet and alternating those feet in that cadence.
Jacqueline Dahlstrom is on to the single leg squats first. They have to start on their left leg. Complete 10, then 10 on the right leg. Ariel Lowen still in second place. Christy O'Connell onto the one-legged squat. She is in the black shorts, was at the top of your screen. Dahlstrom on the right is your leader right now.
And the game you play is, how fast is too fast? Do you fall into that trap of getting outside of your comfort zone and you have one stumble outside of the box, you're on rep 7, and now you got to start all the way over?
Dahlstrom is done. She'll be first onto the handstand walk. Danielle Brandon has the top time, 1:53.39, and remember, the top 20 times will move on. But Dahlstrom is well within that range right now, and she's going to win heat number 3 with a time of 2:01.46 seconds. Ariel Lowen will be next across.
With a time of 2:07.
Carolyn Prevost, who played collegiate hockey here in Madison, is across. Chrissy O'Connell and Bailey Rail. Now Sarah Kaya.
30 seconds.
Gabby McGowan. Karen Freyova also across. Less than 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap.
Oh, wow. Gabby actually had a lot of trouble on the pegboard and the single unders.
And here comes Brooke Wells. And she gets in inside the time cap. Freya Moosbrugger just got no rep on the handstand walk. And she has to go back to the beginning. Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
1 minute.
And Sean, so far we haven't seen any athletes have a skills issue as far as their ability to do the actual movement. What we've seen is that the ability to do your single unders unbroken, your pistols without stepping outside the box or letting your heel touch the ground.
Fourth and final heat will feature
30 seconds.
Tia Toomey right in the middle of the floor, but keep an eye on Mal O'Brien, who won the opening event inside the Coliseum last year.
And already took a 6th place finish in the cycling event with the toes to bar and chest to bar pull-ups earlier this morning. And one of those athletes that has been crowned as the heir apparent to what could be Tia Toomey.
Stand by. All right, ladies and
Onto the pegboard
heat number 4
to start things off. That's Haley Adams,
In the middle right there.
Tia Toomey, and Laura Horvath. Got to the top first. I think Laura Horvath is in the early lead here.
Mal O'Brien working her way up on her second climb at lane 3. Laura Horvath is already on the descent, and there's that rock climbing background coming to play for Laura Horvath.
And Tia Toomey almost slipped in lane 6, but was able to save it. Laura Horvath is on to the single unders first. And here come Mal O'Brien and Tia Toomey and Emma Lawson. Haley Adams wearing the leader's jersey after getting her first career event win is on to the single under. 75 reps here.
75 reps unbroken. For you guys watching at home, they cannot miss. They miss at 74. They have to start all the way over, back at 0. And the weirdest part about single unders.
And Toomey just tripped.
No.
Toomey's back to 0. Tia Toomey just tripped.
And what she has to do is stay calm. It's nearly impossible to stay calm. You panic when you miss double unders, and it's not unbroken.
Laura Horvath and Emma Lawson were the first two onto the pistols. They're at the top of your screen. Mal O'Brien is at the bottom. Horvath struggling with balance a little bit. Remember, if that foot comes down,
wow.
Now she's got to get things sorted.
Emma Lawson is flying through these pistols, and you want to say balance? That's that dancer background for Lawson.
Horvath is struggling badly here. Emma Lawson.
Oh no, that's a hand on the line. Yeah,
she's got
hand on the line.
Lawson has a huge lead right now. And here comes Mal O'Brien. And Emma Lawson has fallen, and that will open the door to Mal O'Brien to win this heat. O'Brien is through, and she will move on to round number 2. Emma Lawson is still in second, but Alexis Raptis is trying to hunt her down.
Tia Toomey, center screen, still has a shot.
There goes Lawson.
Emma Lawson is in. Alexis Raptis is across. And a great comeback from Horvath as Haley Adams is going to edge her out. Now here comes Tia Toomey.
Oh, man.
Saunders and Garnes are in. So Lucy Campbell and Emma McQuaid
Tia
still
Toomey
on the floor.
pulled off a 6th place finish after missing on the single unders late too. It wasn't an early miss. That was a late miss for Tia.
10 seconds remaining.
It's Mal O'Brien at 2:02.31 seconds. And remember, top 20 times move on, and this was by far the fastest heat as far as the women who got across the finish line are concerned. So very likely that all 8 of the women in this heat who finished will move on. But we have to wait and see officially. But they definitely
It's going to be
did themselves some favors there at the end.
It's going to be very close.
But Tia Toomey with a rare stumble now has to see if she's going to advance.
And the thing to understand is that these stumbles are uncharacteristic for all athletes that are taking these stumbles. The miss on Laura Horvath on pistols, the fall of Emma Lawson on the handstand walk, the miss on the single unders for Tia Toomey. If you're an athlete in the back waiting for this, you have to understand that nothing is for certain. The amount of focus and attention you are going to need when it comes to the single unders, the pistols, the handstand walk, is just as important as the execution of the movement itself.
Let's go down to Nikki Brazier, who had a front row seat to all the action. Nikki?
Ooh, so much intensity, guys, here on the competition floor. And, you know, the most interesting thing that I'm seeing, so many different variations and techniques on those single unders. This is not something that we oftentimes see these elite level athletes doing. And you can kind of tell who's had practice doing them recently and who hasn't. The folks that have got 2 feet on the ground, balls on their feet, they're very comfortable and they have a very quick turnaround. They are the ones who practice. And a lot of folks down here have a kind of a running man style, and you can tell that they're trying so hard not to trip up. Nobody wants to start back at 0. Let's see how things change in these upcoming heats.
Take a look back at the 4 heats that we just watched as we tabulate the top 20 times to be moving on. We had a good race in heat number 1 between Elisa Fuliano and Rebecca Fuselier.
Fuliano had the extra pirouette on the handstand walk and still managed to win, but Danielle Brandon, again, if you can get her on her hands, get her past the beginning part, really no one going to be able to touch her when it comes to this. Heat 3, this is where we start having the execution errors in the back part of the field, but Dahlstrom did what she needed to do, just a few seconds off Danielle Brandon's pace. Laura Horvath absolutely crushed the pegboard, was fine on the single unders, but got a little squirrely on the pistols. And there you see, that was not an error of execution, but she thought she was done and put her foot down. Emma Lawson falls and opens the door up for Mal O'Brien, which looks like the beginning part of Granite Games when she had to come out and win the first event on her hands as well.
And there is Tia Toomey, who slipped on the pegboard, was able to save it, and then missed on her single under. So these are your top times that will be moving on. There are your top 10. Danielle Brandon at 153.39. Best score we saw in Heat 1.
At event 3, quarterfinals, top 10 right there. Danielle Brandon with that top time. Turi Hildebrandter, Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
Now 11 through 20.
Oh
And Tia
my goodness.
does not move on. Laurel Horvath is the last woman in at 2:23 by less than 0.2 of a second.
Okay, sorry, here we go.
Wow.
Let's do this again. We've got Laura Horvath advancing, Haley Adams, Victoria Campos, Christy O'Connell, Paige Powers, Alexis Raptiste, Christine Kohlenbrander, Emma Lawson, Carolyn Primo, Paige Semenza, Amanda Barnhart, Danny Spiegel, Ellie Turner, Ariel Lowen, Rebecca Fusilier, Elise Fuliano, Mallory O'Brien, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, Turi Helgadaughter, and Danielle Brandon. Those athletes will be advancing.
Tia Toomey not moving on. And these are the training partners for Proven Fitness. Brooke Wells and Tia Toomey, a look at disbelief on their faces. Tia Toomey, over the last 3 years, has only finished outside the top 10 in a games event 3 times, and that's in 46 total events.
And it came down to a single under.
You know, you think back to 2014 when Rich Froning was on the cusp of winning 4, and he had that moment on
right during the speed clean ladder, but we thought he was out.
But he made it.
But he made it in. And that was the only reason he won that year, because it was so close. Had he not made it that year, who knows what would have happened.
There are definitely some shocked faces around the Alliant Energy Center right now. The first of now 2 heats, top 5 women moving on to the finals. Laura Horvath, who was the last woman to sneak in, she will be down in lane number 10, and now we up the complexity and the difficulty of some of these movements. And there is Tia Toomey, who is now going to be a spectator for the rest of this event.
10 seconds, athletes on your green starting mat. 10 seconds.
They're in the semifinal round.
1 pegboard ascent, strict. Athletes will not be allowed to use their feet to help them up the pegboard.
Some women in this heat just got done working. Haley Adams is in lane number 9. She just got done in that final heat. Laura Horvath is in lane 10. The 1 strict ascent. And Horvath looks like she's going to be the first woman done.
Victoria
Campos is the first woman done, just ahead of Horvath. Now it's the 50 double unders that need to be unbroken.
Back to familiar territory. We're back to the double under, and this is one of those that can be raced when there's no fear of failure, when there's no fear of unbroken or start over. And Laura Horvath on the right has missed twice so far in the set of 50, and I said you had to be relaxed.
And Campos just missed 2. She's back to 0. Emma Lawson on the far end of the floor. She's on the far left side of your screen.
Laura Horvath just missed again.
Now she just again. Emma Lawson is on to the single-legged squat. Same rules apply this round as did last round. Christy O'Connell moves into second place in the heat. Paige Semenza is now in third, followed by Haley Adams.
The pace and balance that Emma Lawson has in the top part of your screen on these single leg squats is an absolute weapon, and an event that needs to be as quick yet as controlled as this needs to be.
Lawson is through. Now the handstand walk. She has to get on her hands, complete a full 360 in that 4x4 blue box. She is through that now. It has to be up and over the obstacle unbroken. Remember, she fell the last time on this part of the event.
I think a lot of that was just due to going too fast, getting caught up in the moment.
And Lawson is through cleanly, and Lawson is going to take the first heat. Haley Adams has moved into second place. Christy O'Connell is in third along with Paige Semenza. Semenza's at the top of your screen. Now here is Haley Adams looking to be the next woman in, and she is across. Christy O'Connell is in. Paige Semenza is down, and Semenza will come across the finish line. Carolyn Prevost right behind her. Alexis Raptis is in. Laura Horvath is now done. And now Campos is in. So Lawson, Adams, O'Connell, Semenza, and Prevost all have a chance to move on. Top 5 times advance here. So the last time is 2:18.75 seconds from Carolyn Prevost, as Christine Kohlenbrander is not going to get in, and neither will Paige Powers.
1 minute. Athletes, 1 minute.
Airs we saw. Obviously with a strict pegboard, you've either got it or you don't. That's the big element there. Do you have the upper body pulling strength and stamina to get your way up and down the pegboard without using your legs? The execution errors that we've seen on double unders is fascinating to me. These athletes can do 200, 300 in a row, but when you say you have to do it unbroken, absolutely incredible what that's done to these athletes.
Second of 2 heats here, Danielle Brandon, who had the fastest time in round 1, will be at the far end of the floor in lane number 1. And there is Mal O'Brien looking to move into the final round here.
Stand by.
Joshua, you're looking at your top 10
One
times
strict pegboard ascent.
for the final round. Let's see how these ladies handle this next upgrade. We'll call it.
Lane 6 is Rebecca Fuselier. She's in the middle of your screen. She just got to the top, as did Danielle Brandon. Brandon working her way down, as is Jacqueline Dahlstrom. Dahlstrom, O'Brien, and Brandon. First 3 done. 50 unbroken double unders for them. And here comes Fuselier and Elisa Fuliano. Drury Helgadottir, Amanda Barnhart, and Ariel Lowen, as Danny Spiegel and Ellie Turner are still on the pegboard.
Find a pace you're comfortable with and stick with it. Don't race the other athletes on 50 double unders. Just find something that you know you can keep and do unbroken.
And a no rep for Danielle Brandon.
Danielle Brandon just trying to go a little too quick. She's got to understand it. She doesn't have to really race here because how good she is on her hands. She just has to get there unscathed. That's the trick for Danielle Brandon.
Mal O'Brien on the right side of your screen with a really good pace here. She's on her second 10 and she is done. O'Brien first of the handstand. No problem on the pirouette. Here comes Danielle Brandon. Brandon quickly through the pirouette. And Brandon is threatening to catch Mal O'Brien, but she may not have enough real estate. O'Brien is down. And O'Brien is in. Here comes Danielle Brandon.
Danielle Brandon all smiles as she crosses the finish line with a time of 1:46.
Lisa Fuliano will make it in. Here comes Rebecca Fuselier. Dahlstrom and Lowen across. And Drury Helgadottir. So far, all of these women have beaten the 5th best time from the last heat. That was 2:18.75 as Amanda Barnhart, and now Danny Spiegel are across. We could see a case for the top 5 from this heat.
Maybe, yeah, maybe in the top 5 overall.
In the winner-take-all final, as Ellie Turner is Still trying to figure out a way to get a strict climb here.
20 seconds.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if she's going to give it another go. She's got a little over 10 seconds remaining.
Think back to 2015 when this first showed up, we saw a lot of this.
And we did. We saw it at the end of the weekend where there was really no consequences to that. But I like the move by Ellie Turner, knowing it's not going to happen. It's going to be a long, long weekend. They don't know what's coming. There's no need to blow yourself up, put yourself in a dangerous position that you're not going to be successful with anyways. I like that move by Turner.
Tia Toomey unofficially is going to finish 23rd in the event. It's the second worst event finish in her career. The worst was in 2015, her rookie year, when she took 31st in heavy DT. Send it down to Nikki Brazier.
Games in 2015, almost none of the women out here on the competition floor could complete the 2 ascents that were required. My, how far we've come when now we're going strict, we're going legless, and no one is batting an eye almost in this top 20.
The Noble CrossFit Games. Fill up your water bottles at the Yeti hydration stations found all over.
Now waiting to find out who the 5 women will be who will move on to the final heat. Winner take all. And it looks like Mal O'Brien, Danielle Brandon, Emma Lawson, Elisa Fuliano, and Rebecca Fuselier are going to be the ones moving on. That's unofficial right now.
In lane number 6, Elisa Fuliano. In lane number 5, Emma Lawson.
Emma Lawson in Heat 1 is pretty much all by herself in the first heat, and she's the only athlete to qualify out of the first heat. All 4 additional ones were in that second heat. Now, Emma Lawson in the first part was actually ahead of Mal O'Brien on the quarterfinal area, but she ended up falling on the handstand walk. Mal O'Brien in this section was able to get her second heat win, holding off Danielle Brandon, and Danielle Brandon only got there because she had a no rep on her pistols. So you got 3 athletes between Emma Lawson, Mal O'Brien, and Danielle Brandon. I mean, all these athletes have looked awesome so far, but having all packed together in this heat is going to be quite a show.
3 rookies moving on here. And there are your 2 vets, and one of them is a teenager. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the final heat for the women in event number 3. It's time for winner take all here in event number 3 for the women at the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games, and Mal O'Brien and Danielle Brandon both looking to lock up 100 points with the event win. Thanks for being with us, everybody, inside the Alliant Energy Center. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram, and Nikki Brazier is down on the competition floor. Event number 3 presented by Yeti. We are in the final round. Things are getting really complicated now.
We've still got the strict ascent on the pegboard for the athletes, and then the double crisscross overs followed by the pistols. But this, a handstand walk from a L position into a handstand crossing the parallettes themselves.
And then onto your feet and across the finish line. Couldn't be simpler.
Couldn't be simpler. Adapt to the situation or fall behind the rest of the pack. Unbroken or bust. When you look at the pistols themselves, for the crisscross overs for the double unders, they do not have to be unbroken. One changing. When you're looking at what's on the table for these athletes, for this event itself, when wall walks were introduced last year by Dave Castro, it was a warning to athletes all over the world to go back to the principles that made CrossFit 20 years ago. In 2004, Greg Glassman said, from handstands, handstand walking, and pressing to handstands, they are critical exercises in developing your athlete's potential and essential components to becoming CrossFit. You want to get better at this sport? Make sure you guys know where we came from and where it all started.
There is Mal O'Brien. Next to her is Danielle Brandon. Now, Emma Lawson came into this event in 3rd place overall. Depending how she does here, the 17-year-old could be your overall leader after 2 events.
the caliber of athletes, we talked about leaning on your history. She wasn't even born when this movement was created, when these articles were written by Greg Glassman.
Final heat underway. 1 strict pegboard ascent.
The semifinals, and here are your top 5 into this event. All looking for that first
Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon, and Mal O'Brien, along with Rebecca Fuselier, getting to the top at about the same time. Giuliano is falling back. Danielle Brandon is done first. Now on to the jump rope. 25 double unders with the crossover. They do not need to be unbroken.
Now on these double under crossovers, if they break, they can continue on their
And the test here is really a test of athleticism. The ability to adapt on the fly. Do you have the wherewithal as an athlete to be able to either learn this for the first time, or like we said, adapt or die? Do you have the ability to do something maybe you've never done before? And that's the weird wrinkle as far as this test concerned. The race portion of this is, as you get through the crisscross on the double unders, is basically over. Unless you're just, if you're on the jump rope dare team in elementary school, which I got cut from, I'm not going to bring that up, you probably never tried something like this before.
All the women here are just trying to figure out how to string a couple reps together. Danielle Brandon looked like she was in a good rhythm early on. And now she's continuing to move. So Danielle Brandon looking pretty good here. At the front near floor, got about 3 reps. Mal O'Brien got another one in.
Danielle Brandon talking with her judge about how the judge is counting it.
Elisa Fuliano and Emma Lawson are in front here. Lawson is on the back half of this set. Now Danielle Brandon once again with a nice rhythm here. And she is in the lead.
But she's only separated by 1 rep from Emma Lawson.
over a couple of hours ago, these athletes just learned about
The big thing here, Sean, is raising the bar. Raising the bar for the athletes, year in, year out. We saw it in 2015 with the pegboard where no one can do it. Now we're getting 6 strict.
And Brandon is just about done. We're inside 30 seconds to go. We may not get to the handstand portion of this event. If Brandon can get to that, she can do herself a huge favor. So 15 seconds to go.
Fuselier just 1 behind her.
And it looks like Fuliano did get through all of those double unders. She was moving on to the handstand portion, so Elisa Fuliano may have just won that event. We'll have to wait for the official score.
And the wild part was Fuliano was the last one off the pegboard.
We'll have to see how it all shakes out, but Elisa Fuliano looked like she was moving on to the handstand portion.
Technically would be event number 3, even though we were a little postponed today. That leaderboard.
But Mal O'Brien and Emma Lawson came into this event